Good afternoon and welcome to the Magic Software webinar, Building Effective Mobile Business Screens with Magic XPA Application Platform. I'm Tom Hutchins, Marketing Manager, Magic Software UK and Ireland and Nordics. I'm joined in the room by our technical consultant Joe Da Silva. So the agenda this afternoon, going to be giving you a brief overview of Magic Software, what we do, how our approach to applications works, and then handing over to Joe for some demo and detailed explanation for a quick Q&A session at the end. So Magic Software has been around 30 years. We had our first IPO in '91, listed on the NASDAQ Stock Exchange. We're a member of the ASECO group of technology companies. We are experts of innovative technology, focus on your business needs, providing application development and integration platforms. We have 15 offices worldwide from which we serve clients in over 50 countries, and we have a network of over 2,500 global partners. Our offices are spread from Europe through to South Africa, Asia, US and Brazil. So Magic, we see ourselves as delivering the fully integrated mobile enterprise. We believe that integrating, focusing on the user experience, speed, security, management and expertise is what our clients need. So integration. Our clients tell us that they want to have secure, reliable access to any enterprise data with 24/7 high availability. In terms of user experience, they don't just want a nice UI, they want it to be intuitive and native, fully available and with offline support. Speed is to do with what our clients are able to do, respond quicker to market trends, be more flexible and have a future-proof organization. Security is of course key, and it has to be secured at 3 levels: the application, the device and the user. That's typically through encryption, authentication and mobile device management software. Management tools are required to maintain, manage and monitor and control applications, infrastructure, devices and users. And of course expertise, because our customers don't just want to buy an application, they want to have an expert partner who can guide them through the entire application lifecycle, from project definition planning to design, delivery and implementation. Magic's enterprise mobility solution comprises 4 elements. So today we're talking about Magic XPA application platform, which is for developing mobile, web, SOA and desktop applications. We also have Magic XPI integration platform, which is a business and process integration suite for data integration between applications. The Magic MDM solution, which is mobile device management for security, centralized monitoring control, support and policy compliance, and Magic Mobility Professional Services, which is extra services consulting work for our ISV partners and enterprises. Our approach is we have one architecture that works across all systems, take information from any databases and applications through to our enterprise application integration server, and then run that through the server and push it out through the internet to native clients and web browsers. We have a single development paradigm, which is that we work out from your specifications, figure out the logic of the applications, the business processes, develop that and then push it out through our servers to any different devices and tiers. We have a straightforward technology stack. We wrap your enterprise software back office systems in workflow integration, and then using the drag and drop map, that's a little picture which you can see there. It's very simple, no coding involved, and we take that and push it out through the application platform to any different platform. So application platforms, what's in it for me? Firstly, you get improved application integration, enterprise connectivity, enterprise-grade security and scalability built in. We've built in application development tooling, a single development paradigm that supports multi-channel development and native clients, and Joe will be talking more about the advantages of running natively later on. Application lifecycle management capabilities built in, and increases your ROI and business flexibility. So what we're really trying to achieve by using a platform is multi-channel support. And multi-channel is needed because users are accessing data from many different devices and architectures. In fact, more than ever before, because now anything from mainframe terminals, desktops, tablets, smartphones, different web browsers, and an ever-expanding range of social media. And the data could be held in the cloud, legacy on-premise, back office systems, or public internet. So this isn't just about HTML5. We're trying to get the same functionality across different channels. HTML5 isn't yet sufficiently adapted, integrated, or ready for multiple devices. We're really after multi-channel. And that's because context is very important. Let's just define a few terms. A device and a platform are things we don't really want to worry about. Device is the tool used to complete the task. Platform is the ecosystem that the device sits within, like iOS, Android, or Windows. We don't want to worry about these things, and we don't want to tell the users what they can and cannot use. What we do care about is the channel and the context. Channel is the touch point with the user, like an iPhone or an iPad are different channels, and the context is where, when, and how the touch point is happening. It's all about user experience, how to deliver functionality depending on the context. So how we got here with mobile revolution, smartphones started off as consumption devices, and originally these were thought to not be business tools, but users now expect to be able to bring their own device and use it for work. On the enterprise side, it's very process-driven, a lot of structured data with strong governance and control. So we have these very, very different worlds that we're trying to bridge the gap between. What we're trying to achieve sounds straightforward. We want the same functionality in different channels, adapted, integrated, and ready for multiple devices. The only problem is that we don't necessarily want the different devices to show the same picture. We don't just want to resize it so that it fits. We want to think about the context the user's in, how they want to work with their device. On a PC, yes, you're probably sitting comfortably, you've got the time and the mouse and keyboard input that you can work with complicated systems. On the tablet, it's still quite a big screen, you've got two hands, but it's still a mobile device and very touch-centric, so you want it to still be simple input. And on the phone, if you pull the phone out of your pocket, you probably don't have the time or the space to use anything else. So you want it to be very quick. It's very much, what do I need to do or know right now? This is why we need to have a special multi-channel solution to be able to provide the right information in a way that works in all these contexts. If you think about how we use different devices, even just looking at a phone and a tablet, the phone we're going to use much more as a scanning device, using GPS, gyroscope, near-field communications, really for the sensors. Whereas the tablet you might work on a bit more. You can use two hands. You've still got the location awareness that you have with the phone, but it's better for collaboration and light productivity work. And if you think about how we use different devices between smartphones, tablets, and PCs, you see straight away it's very different. From an input perspective, you're moving from two fingers, really, or finger and thumb on the smartphone, to up to two hands with the tablet, 4 to 10 fingers. On the PC, of course, even if you've got a touch screen, it's much bigger, and you'd expect to have mouse and keyboard. In terms of how long it takes a user to get frustrated and think, never mind, I'll do it later, on the smartphone, very quick. If they can't complete their task in about 2 seconds, 2 to 4 seconds, say, they'll just say, I'll do it when I'm back in the office. Tablets, a bit longer, 5 to 10 seconds. And on the PC, they're a bit more comfortable and actually puzzle it out. in terms of how we're using them and where we're using them, smartphone's very much used on the go. Tablet, you might be sitting down, but not all that comfortably. And of course with the PC, you're probably going to be at your ergonomic desk in your ergonomic chair, and you're comfortable to sit there for a long time. Also, in terms of how social the devices are and how easy it is to share information on them, smartphone's really for one person. You could hand it to someone else to have a look at, but you can't really work together on it. The tablet, you just about can. You can have two people around it. And of course the PC, many more, because the extra input in outputs mean that you can plug in a larger monitor if needed. So the smartphone really, you want to read messages, action quickly, use the sensors and really limit data entry. On the tablet, you want to show more message detail, can action and also analyze, use the sensors, but do a bit more data entry. While on the PC, it's great for data entry, reports, looking at dashboards, and you can open further tabs and tasks to really drill down into information. So multi-channel is important because these different contexts require us to work slightly differently. Again, looking at where we might be to use different devices. The office, you've got your PC, sitting comfortably, you can work with big back office systems. The tablet, maybe sitting in a train, you're not that comfortable, but you've got a little fold-out table, you can sit it there, you can work at things, you've got the bit of patience to actually sit down and figure it out. On the mobile, on the go, you want to know what we need to know or do right now. And the web, well, it's great for pushing information out there, but it's just not able to really match these contexts. You've got one page, and the most you're really going to be able to do without coding separate sites, which is duplicating effort, is just have it fit the different screens. We want a single development effort. So, as I mentioned before, the key mobility requirements from our customers are that it's integrated, has a user experience that goes beyond just a UI, has to be native. We need to enable them to react to market trends. It has to be secure, provide management tools, and has to be provided by an expert partner. And enterprise mobility needs a holistic view. It's not just a question of picking a few devices and saying, you can use these. We want to cater for context. We need multi-platform, multi-device support with a single development effort, back-end integration, building in security, monitoring and management tools. We need an application platform. Platforms allow us to cater for context by building out from business processes, figuring out the presentation layer, how should it look, and then pushing it out to different devices. You get one workflow that will appear differently depending on what device you're on. Now, thank you for listening to me. I will hand over to Joe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation. Okay, Joe, go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Can you see that screen? Hello, hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today. What I'm trying to do is to show you a bit of practical points in how to tackle any application that you might be considering developing it at this point. And before I do that, if you could help us just tapping on the chat screen, what kind of role you currently have, if you're a developer or if you're doing any application or have any application to be developed for as an ISV or even as a business-to-business for your customers or for your employees, or if you're working in government, or even if you're an SI looking to create applications or recommend to your customers. That will give us quick feedback and also allow me to tweak the presentation a little bit if we have particular focus on the audience. I'm going to start throwing you a few questions. So what challenges are you particularly facing at the moment? Is it to provide access to critical business processes on multiple devices? Is that something that you are looking for? Is it to focus or provide a more focused experience for each mobile device or each mobile scenario? Is the business currently pressuring you to support multiple devices and you're wondering, okay, how am I going to create all these applications or these business processes in all those platforms out there, develop, deploy, and maintain that? And good part of what we're taking time here today is how you design effective mobile business screens in particular, and what considerations you might want to start with, and then experiment or go deeper depending on which application you're doing. As an example, I just want you to consider one slide that Tom showed you a few minutes ago. And this scenario, something arrives, a business process happens, a purchase order arrives, there's a path of business rules that needs to be checked, need to be validated, and information needs to be provided on a mobile device, here represented by a BlackBerry screen or device. And someone needs to take a decision based on that information. In this case, a manager will look on the critical points for that decision and then make a quick decision based on that information. So this is the scenario. Hopefully you can create like a pattern out of this to be used and applied in multiple situations. So if we look forward or look ahead, what we have is an event, a business event. In this case, it's represented by a PO that just arrived. And this PO arrived in a particular system, in this case, the ERP. Once that event happened, a list of business rules are involved now to check things and to trigger other things. So we need to apply those business rules, and many times more likely they will involve multiple systems, multiple data sources, and even multiple services. And this is the second piece of my design here, of my pattern I'm trying to highlight for you. The third part is I need to present in a mobile device normally restricted by space, area, and as Tom mentioned on his presentation, consider the user that is now quickly need to look and take a decision. Those users more likely will be on the move with very short attention span. So if we think about this process and think that how many times it will repeat, how would you consider to, or what exactly would you consider to create an application and react to those events and apply those business rules? Traditionally, we resolve this by using an SOA platform where we would connect all those systems, applications, or services, or data sources. We also have been developing multiple mobile solutions per platform or using HTML. But this tends to be quite complex, quite time-consuming, costly, and a lot more risk to develop, maintain, and move forward with those solutions following this traditional way. Now we have a different option, which is to use an integration platform and the mobile platform. The integration platform will facilitate tremendously look into those backend systems or services, and the mobile platform will support all those devices that we want to deliver the solution for. So it's much simpler, much faster, much less expensive, and particularly less riskier to do, because I can create a solution quickly for one device, and the platform takes care of moving that solution to the other. The mobile platform takes care of taking that solution to the other channel or the operating system or devices. So if we compare what we traditionally have versus what we have now, we also have another consideration, that one of the points that we need to bring is the designer, looking into the flow of the information, and also looking to application development versus apps. In principle, we could think, oh, an app is just a shortcut or a cut-down version of an application, which is true. But also, how does that work on this scenario? So we need designers. We need designers to think about the flow, not only the presentation, but the flow, the situation where the users are, and highlight what's important. And these are some of the points I want to highlight for you today. So if we compare apps versus applications, normally if we look at the right-hand side of my slide here, traditionally we have been creating applications which are quite ample, extensive, in detail, fat if you like, and very long process, requiring a trained user, normally a specific license for typical ERP. And we can't simply provide that application or take that screen and throw it on a mobile device and expect the users now to be able to react. In terms of the apps, we have a different approach. For example, we have to target now different users, not users that necessarily use those big applications, because the apps are more task-oriented. They have to be focused, they have to be short and simple towards that task that we want to provide, and more than likely they will cross boundaries in terms of the back-end system. So in the example we showed before, Tom, and I repeat it here, the manager to make a decision to approve a PO, information was necessary from the ERP, from the CRM, and this was provided by the application that will gather what's important, what is important for that specific task, and then make a decision there. So if we look a bit more into detail, what we want to consider is to abstract what's underlying all the information, all the systems, all the operating systems, etc., and focus on the top of the triangle here, which is the business logic, which is the task at hand. And we could again use the 80-20 rule and focus mainly on the business logic and forget what's necessary in terms of infrastructure to deliver that. Leave that to the platform. Abstract that from the physical environment. So my application will be reflected by the devices I want to deploy, the specific screen form factors eventually, and the business need, the task at hand. And forget about or disconsider or leave that to the platform to handle, or to handle at least most of it, and make it much faster to deploy the mobile device and the business need that I want to deploy at the moment. So in that sense, what I need to focus is on the presentation layer. So the screens, what data is important for that specific task, and the business process behind it can be managed by the platform, and also the deployment to one device or multiple devices, being a desktop or a small screen mobile phone or a tablet, can be handled by the platform, or simply by changing the presentation layer and applying the same business process, the same business rules. I also need to consider the context, as Tom showed you, and in that sense I can also make more use of the specific features on each device, and then react accordingly and work on my presentation layer in that sense. So let's have a look in terms of design of the screens, what kind of things you might want to consider to start with. The first one is the screen details, the size of the screen, and where things are located should be more at hand. In this case, more at, closer to a thumb, for example. And if we look at this heat map, on the green side is the area that's more likely to be reachable by a right-handed person, so you can consider that as well. And in that sense, what you might want to do is to put any input, any button, any area that you want the user to enter information on the green area, and use the red area more to inform the user or to let them know what's going on if the application is doing something behind the scenes. So in that sense, what we want to do is provide a more natural way of the interaction, and think about this movement of a thumb for a left or right-handed person, for devices that can be used by one hand or both. An example here would be the email, which is a kind of a particular example because it's an application that requires quite a lot of input, typically. And you can see that from this example, a landscape orientation allows an input by 2 thumbs. So that's something that was thought of on this design, considering that heat map, what's available, what's close to the user, and where things should be positioned. And in that sense, for the thumb itself, we also want to consider the natural movement of gestures. So this also is important if you want the users to be able to swipe, for example. You have this reference screen showing in green what's really very accessible, and in red what tends to be a lot less accessible, and anything in between. So these are important points that you might want to consider. Also consider the typical size of a thumb, and that's important in terms of the next topic, which is how big buttons and icons should be when you're expecting the user to touch them. So anything that you are providing to the user to react and touch, you have a minimum size that you should consider. Talking of buttons, let's talk a little bit of and show you a few examples. If you look at this screen, you see that I have a list of icons and that provide access to applications, and this has a specific size that follow more or less that details that I just mentioned regards the size, minimum size of the thumb. And you also want to consider the location and easiness of touch, as I mentioned before, from the area and the device that you provide for the user. A clear indication where to touch, that's normally provided by the design of the icon, by the boundaries, and avoiding less than 1 centimeter square, because that would be too tiny to be touched. And consider some space around the buttons to not only provide a clear view, but also to avoid the user touching a button by accident that they didn't mean to. Also providing a contrast, as again you can see on the example, the colors and the background provide a clear contrast where things are, where buttons are. And if possible, it's preferable to provide also the text, as again you can see on the example, the text giving you an extra indication to the user. I'll give another example in a minute, but also consider things to be positioned by importance or by latest usage. These also can facilitate and let or help the users navigate and feel comfortable with your application. So one point to keep simple and consistent and avoid the users to make mistakes is to allow them, for example, to always when they look at the screen to see the same thing that they were expecting, have a certain match on their expectation. And that's to avoid the users to be surprised with some new information and they have now to decide what to do next. So having an inconsistent presentation tends to bring that burden to the users. And here's an example. So if you look at the screen, there's a few columns there, there are a few lines, and sometimes there's a video, sometimes there isn't. And I think this is a counter example. Is it text or is it image? The color scheme also is important to give the user that easy of navigation and also to be pleasant and attractive. So in this second screenshot, you can see a consistency, you can see a nice, pleasant color scheme, and a good level of contrast as well. This also helps you denote your brand. So as you create your application, your icons, it's important to spend maybe some time in this professional designer here to think in terms of what are the icons, what are you trying to convey that would be particularly important for users to identify your app and denote your brand. These navigations and everything that we talk in general make sense towards making the users feel comfortable and at home with your application and more likely to come back and use it. So navigation, clear back buttons, and sometimes navigations become a very tricky thing to program. That's another point that the platform should facilitate, that you can create screens and a flow of how things should be used, and the platform provides that navigation for you automatically. One next point is try to show what's more important first. Remember that you're talking very small screens, and if your application provides a lot of information, try to put what's important first. A typical example would be a newspaper in this case, where there are so many stories, so what to do, what to show, how to present. So by importance would be an interesting option here. Also by user preference, if you can go to that detail, and it was the effort. And allow the user immediate action, because this, by importance, they're more likely to be picking on the top items that are more of their interest, and that will help them a lot. Another point in terms of navigation is to give the user a clear direction. Should they go left, should they go right, one page or multiple page? So if we have, for example, an application here that has multiple details, and what do I go from here? I want to show this image because it shows you a clear concise, well-designed presentation in terms of flow, what are the things that the user can do, where can they go next. Next, menus. Menus are very familiar for any developer for a long time. And do they still have any use in a very small screen? I think they do. So you can still use them. They can still be useful. And here, the typical example would be a navigation option that can hide and come back, as in the case, for example, Gmail. And there is a menu bar, but it's normally hidden. You have an icon there, and that the user can touch and then open up the menu, which is again represented on the right-hand side by another application, and similar idea. One big challenge that we all have developing for mobile is the small screen versus multiple process versus multiple information. So if you are particularly moving from a desktop application, a normal system that is being used in a desktop, how do you concise and put those information, what's essential, decide what's essential to put on a mobile screen? Normally we tend to be very prolific in the information and make things very cluttered and try to squeeze too much. So that's important that you discuss with your designer to bring what's really important, to focus on the task. Remember the initial of this conversation in terms of what is one task that you're trying to achieve for a user that is on the move. And here I have a great example that put just what's more important first, and some graphical elements, again, considering what's pleasant and more likely to provide useful information and usability and niceties. And this example of the weather application highlights this very, very clearly. You can have a high-level view at a glance. Immediately you can tell what's important, which is the weather in multiple locations, how's the weather like. There's some text as well. There's an image conveying the weather. But I didn't lose anything else because I can still provide an extra detail. So if the user touch, then they are allowed to drill down for more details. And then they have a lot more information on a second screen. So this is a great example of translating functionality from a desktop, translating functionality that's quite extensive into a small screen and breaking them down by importance and by level of drilling down to the users. One last point maybe is to avoid make the users waiting. And this also might have to be a challenge, because if you are providing any information that requires going back to another system or do some background calculations, you need to give immediate feedback anyway. So if the users touch a button, you should react and really make them notice that the application listened and is now doing something, and try to remove any non-critical data transfer in the background to make your application more responsive, or in any way not to lock the users, but try to do the work and then provide information back when it's ready. So keep the screen focused on the process that the user is trying to complete, and as minimum information as necessary. And remember from the previous slides that the minimum information doesn't need to be unusable. It was my point was trying to show that it can be minimal and at the same time useful and allowing the drill down. And if you do need to go back and do something on the background, provide an indication of progress that will make your users more likely to go back or consider or being notified when a long request is happening, and then react accordingly. But never lock or freeze the user or the screen. That's probably something very obvious, but let's put it in practice. It's important. And the other point is to balance input when necessary. Now, some applications you will have minimum input. You might, for some business process, you may present information, then you just take a decision, tap something that goes ahead. Sometimes you will still need to do a lot of input. So when that's the case, try to facilitate. Again, I go back to the email, which is an application that's mainly useful with a lot of input. So we need to type some text. And in this case, it's provided by a larger keyboard and making things autocomplete. There's quite a lot of thinking behind facilitating the input when it's necessary. And to finalize, the user testing. So how do you test? And it's important to highlight that real-world field testing is essential. You need to let different users, with different experiences, different requirements and styles to use your application and give you feedback and focus. You can also focus on your target users in particular, but try to broaden that range a little bit and get the feedback. Different users for different platforms will have different expectations, so that's another challenge. Mostly the platform will help you on that in terms of presentation, navigation, and that you might need to test anyway. But again, the platform should help you a lot in that sense. The look and feel will be provided mostly by the platform, but you still need to test. And sometimes for specific devices, you might need to consider that as well. Again, I hope that the platform will help you out, and that's our case as well. Devices that provide keyboard or trackball are the typical examples, but also you might want to use other features of that specific device to enhance your application. Okay, those were the points. I just want to emphasize quickly that what's the life and blood of your application is behind the scenes. These are the other applications where you getting the information from and sending information back to. And so you need to consider the bridge to other systems, which is critical. And in the case of our integration platform, we provide a wrap or a connector that exposes any service, application, or data source, and it's easy, callable by any mobile device or platform, or part of our mobile platform as well, but also can be called by any other service or application out there. And the way to manage the information that flows between those backend systems is very high level, very visual, no code necessary. You simply drag those connectors I showed you on the previous slides on a palette and define a flow of information, select information. And for each application, let's say Dynamics or SharePoint or Salesforce, you are presented with a wizard that then you can interact with the data or whatever the API exposes. So no need for you to go down and code services and windows and things like that. This is valid for multiple systems, and all those systems are certified, those connectors are certified by those vendors as well. And one other thing that we didn't touch today, we have another webinar to discuss, is the offline capabilities. So a lot of your applications should work disconnected, and you might want to implement that. Sometimes you have that completely in mind, sometimes it's just partially disconnected. There are multiple patterns that you would consider, but is part of our platform as well. So to finalize, I just invite you to try it out. So if you download our platform and training material, and you can also get a free session to build your own proof of concept or evaluate against any project or prototype that you are having at the moment, particularly if that's challenging. We like to spend 1 or 2 days and show you how it can be done very quickly with our platform. And if you use this as to expand your business, also we have a great list of partners and partner programs. So thank you very much. I'll get back to Tom, I'll pass back to Tom in case we have any questions and to finalize. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So we do have one question here, which is regarding having a trial of the application platform. Basically, the question is, you mentioned this, it sounds interesting. Could you give a bit more information, please?
Yeah, sure. What I recommend is that you probably either contact Tom and we can, or myself, and we can direct you. We prefer a more one-to-one, so we can spend the time with you, with your prototype, and quickly demonstrate that. On our website, you can also have the tools and the material, as I mentioned, that you can download, but please use the one-to-one opportunity. I think that's a great opportunity for you to very quickly, without spending too much time on your own, to prototype things, either on the backend system, the integration, or on a mobile platform for a specific device, or both. But we have, as part of my team, we can provide that for you very quickly.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So that's all the questions I have here. So in that case, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Joe, for your excellent demonstration. I'm going to give you a few minutes back of your busy Monday. I hope you... Oh, sorry, I just had a quick question come in. It's regarding the same thing. Is there a sample app that can be downloaded and run? Joe.
Yes, we do have a few samples. They are, again, part of the material. We provide them with the source code as well, so you can download, you can go to the material. They are mainly targeted for our customer base or new ISVs that are developing, or the partner, the last point of my slide projected at the moment, but they are completely available there if you want. And if you're completely new to the platform, again, please use our one-to-one sessions. That's probably will give you a quick overview. But it's out there. It's part of the material.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So, case,